Hello everyone, and in this tutorial we're going to be going over how to make a platform game using GEdit, or GDevelop rather. So with GDevelop you can build your own games. No programming skills are required, although it is open to you if you want it to actually program in JavaScript. You can. So once you've downloaded GDevelop on your operating system, you want to open it up. And on the screen, we're going to be creating a brand new project. So let's hit that. It comes with literally tons of examples. You can start your own platformer game, space shooter game, isometric game, and there's literally tons of examples that you can load up and just kind of exchange your own graphics for, like controller input. I think that's pretty cool. I would definitely be interested in that, and there's tons of tutorials too, but today we're going to go and hit empty project. So here on the left here you see the project menu. I'm not sure if you can see that, it's kind of cut off a little bit. We have different topics here of game settings. So if you hit properties, this is going to be the properties of our game. So this here we name our game. We're going to call it Simple Platformer. We'll keep the game window width and height the same unless otherwise you want it to change it. The version number, if you plan on exporting the Android or iOS, you'll need to change this, and of course the author name. Okay, I'm gonna hit apply. So that was the properties. We have something called global variables. These are it's like a feature that holds information that's accessible throughout your game. The icons, if you're deploying an Android app, you need to fill out all these Android icons so people can easily identify your game. And resources is all the files, like images and whatnot, that are contained within your game. Right now it's empty because we haven't loaded anything in yet. Okay, so next thing we have our scenes. Scenes are each window that we want our players to see. For now we're just going to ignore these three other categories. Okay, so all we do is hit the plus symbol and we get this new scene here. As you can see, it creates this square space here so we can do our design. It's good to rename the scene so we know what's what. So we're going to hit rename here, and we're going to call this main scene. So this is going to be like our open window. Like I said, this is where we design our stuff. And then we have this main scene event screen. This is where all our logic is going to be held in. So when you first open this up, you'll see the screen that says there are no events here. Events are composed of conditions and actions. Add your first using the first button in the toolbar. It's this one here, add a new empty event. But I like to categorize my events, so I'm actually going to hit this plus here first and go to group. Now for the group name, we're going to call this main. It's going to be all the main game logic, and I make subgroups as well, so we'll call it that for now. Let's head back to this editor here. So off to the right here we have objects panel, and the objects are anything that's in our game. So our first thing we're going to do is hit the plus sign here, and we're going to go to text. Now the object name should be descriptive of what we're making, and it cannot contain any spaces or special characters. So I'll just call it logo. And this is the text that's going to be displayed. So we'll call this simple platformer. And we can go ahead and change the size of this. Let's just make it 100, make it bold, and click apply. Now this is draggable into our scene. Now as you can see, it's kind of breaks out the sides a little bit. Let me click play here. Yeah, we don't see the whole thing, so we can either make the size smaller, or we could do that just pressing enter. And we have our logo now. Let me just go back to edit again. These are very basic. There's no like center or anything. Alright, so this is going to be our logo. We also want to give a message to say press enter. Press enter to start. Okay, and let's just make this one 60 bold. And drag that one down here. Okay, if we press play, we can see our game in action. If you don't like this horrible, or it's not a horrible gray, but if you want to change this gray color, just right click it and hit scene properties, and you'll be able to choose the background color here. Let's go with yeah, this red's nice, and just hit OK, and you got this nice red now. Now we have to enter the logic for pressing enter to start. So head over to your main scene events page, and you're going to right click on the main, and you're going to hit add new event below. And just make sure. You might need to drag it over into the main portion. So here we have add condition, and we have add action. This is how do I say this, like the checker and the doer. So this checks if the condition is true or false, and if so, make it do something. So one thing that we want to do is we have all these categories here that we can check. So many things to do, but we want to check to see when the enter button has been pressed. So we want to access the keyboard. We have some options here. We have any key pressed. We have a key pressed text expression, and when a key is released, we have a key pressed and key released. We want key. I guess we can do key release. That's fine too. And just enter is actually return, so you want to make sure it's returned, and just hit OK. So when the return is released, so when we press it down and let go, we want something to happen. And so we want our game to start. So we don't have any other scenes yet, so let's go back and create a new scene. And in this scene, we will call this level 1. And if we open up level 1, let's just update the scene properties again. Let's make maybe a dark red this time. And well, when we press enter or press play, we see the spread screen. So essentially, when we add this logic in, we're just going to see a red screen after they press enter. So let's add the action here. And again, we see all these different types of action topics. So what we actually want to do is we want to find the scene topic and hit scene and hit change scene. So, and then we want to tell it which scene to go to. And in order to do this, we actually have to type this in double quotes. And we named it level 1. So once you've done that, press OK. And yes, this has to match this. Okay. Okay, so let's go back to the main scene and press play. And press enter. And here is the red scene that's we've loaded in. Okay, so that is a pretty basic first video. Stay tuned for the next.